Hey everybody, it's been insane trying to get this information out. Oh my God. I hope that you all can hear me all right. Hold on, okay. Anyway, welcome to the reading of the book, The Lost Continent of Mu. It was written by Col.James Churchward, and it's almost 100 years old. So I found this book in an old bookstore in Washington, D.C. by Eastern Market, and I feel that this information is very important to share. With that said, this book was written almost 100 years ago, so you might hear some things that may sound actually is from a colonial perspective, but that does not mean that we should overlook the info. All right. So yeah. Um, can't believe this book is almost 100 years old. I mean, we're almost in the year 2026. So hold on. Let me make sure that it's on my microphone. Okay, perfect. And hopefully you will be able to hear me okay. So yeah, let's get started. I'm sharing the screen. This is a AI depiction of the Miria that it didn't want to do this for me, but whatever. So yeah, let's take a deep breath and just listen to the information in this book with an open heart and an open mind. And thank you so much for being here. All right, so let's just get to it. Publisher's note: The Lost Continent of Mu, the complete edition. For years it had been rumored that there were two versions of the Lost Continent of Mu. One, the original, the other, a modified volume. The version we as a reading public have been accustomed to seeing is the second edition, published by Eve Washburn, New York, 1931. Subsequent reprints by Neville Spearman, London, 1959, Paperback Library, New York, 1968, and ourselves, 1987, were all based upon the second edition and all saw numerous reprints. Quite by accident did an original copy, William Edwin Rudge, New York, 1926, of this work fall into our hands. Lo and behold, the page numbers did not match, the typesetting was different, and the illustrations varied. The rumor was true. There were two editions of this famous book, and the copyright records in Washington, D.C. bear this out. The 1926 edition contains 316 pages, whereas the 1931 edition, 335. Comparison reveals that there were deletions from the first and additions and revisions to the second. This edition contains 393 pages, 96 of which, including an entire chapter, consist of the added and revised material, and has been placed in an addendum following page 316 and retain their page numbers. The earlier edition, like Mu herself, had become lost in the mist of time. This edition, then, for the first time, presents the complete Lost Continent of Mu researches of Colonel James Churchward, combining both books into one volume. Preface. All matters of science in this work are based on the translations of certain ancient Nakal tablets which I discovered in India many years ago. These tablets were written either in Burma or in Mu, the lost continent, and their extreme age is attested by the fact that legendary history says that the Nakals left Burma more than 15,000 years ago. Some of the subjects embodied in these tablets are an account of the creation of the earth, life and its origin, the origin and workings of the forces, With the aid of the high priest of the temple, I deciphered and translated these tablets, which unfortunately were only fragments of the various subjects. I spent many years proving, as far as possible by experimentation, that the facts set forth were true. This work represents over 50 years of investigation and research and embodies what I have found written on these ancient and intensely interesting tablets. The gist of them indubitably establishes to my own satisfaction that at one time the earth had an incalculably ancient civilization which was, in many respects, superior to our own, and far in advance of us in some important essentials that the modern world is just beginning to have cognizance of. These tablets, with other ancient records, bear witness to the amazing fact that the civilizations of India, Babylonia, Persia, Egypt, and Yucatan were but the dying embers of this great past civilization. I desire here to express my appreciation and thanks for the courtesies and contributions received for the benefit of this book, the British Museum, London, the Dearborn Independent, Dearborn, Michigan, the American Weekly, New York, and the World, New York. Right. So this is James. Oh, oops. Did I add? Oh, here we go. So that's him. And we are reading this book. This is part of the front page, but I think you can find this somewhere online or in your local bookstore. So yeah. 1. Alpha, the beginning. The Garden of Eden was not in Asia, but on a now sunken continent in the Pacific Ocean. The biblical story of creation, the epic of the 7 days and 7 nights, came first, not from the peoples of the Nile or of the Euphrates Valley, but from this now submerged continent, Mu, the motherland of man. These assertions can be proved by the complex records which I discovered upon long-forgotten sacred tablets in India, together with records from other countries. They tell of this strange country of 64 million inhabitants who, 50,000 years ago, had developed a civilization superior in many respects to our own. They described, among other things, the creation of man in the mysterious land of Mu. By comparing this writing with records of other ancient civilizations, as revealed in written documents, prehistoric ruins, and geological phenomena, I found that all these centers of civilization had drawn their culture from a common source, Mu. We may therefore be sure that the biblical story of the creation as we know it today has evolved from the impressive account gathered from those ancient tablets which relate the history of Mu, history 500 centuries old. The manner in which this original story of the creation came to light forms a tale that takes us back more than 50 years. It was a famine time in India. I was assisting in relief work the high priest of a college temple. Although I did not know it at first, he was exceedingly interested in archaeology and the records of the ancients, and had a greater knowledge of those subjects than any other living man. When he saw one day that I was trying to decipher a peculiar bas relief, he took an interest in me that brought out one of the truest friendships I have known. He showed me how to solve the puzzle of these peculiar inscriptions and offered to give me lessons which would fit me for still more difficult work. For more than 2 years, I studied diligently a dead language which my priestly friend believed to be the original tongue of mankind. He informed me that this language was understood by only 2 other high priests in India. A great difficulty arose from the fact that many of the apparently simple inscriptions had hidden meanings, which had been designed especially for the Holy Brothers, the Nakals, a priestly brotherhood who were sent from the motherland to the colonies to teach the sacred writings, religion, and the sciences. One day, when he was in a talkative mood, he told me that there were a number of ancient tablets in the secret archives of the temple. What they consisted of, he did not know, for he had only seen the chatties which contained them. Although he was in a position to examine the writings, he had never done so, as they were sacred records not to be touched. In discussing these secret writings, he added something that sent my curiosity up to a new high point. He had already mentioned the legendary motherland of man, the mysterious land of Mu. Now he amazed me by the admission that these precious tablets were believed by many to have been written by the Nakals, either in Burma or in the vanished motherland itself. I became impatient to see them when I learned that the writings were only fragments of a vast collection that had been taken from one of the seven Rishi, sacred cities of India. The bulk of them were believed to have been lost. Still, however, there remained this opportunity to see what I might of the ancient fragments of antiquity that lay dust-laden in the dark. Day after day, I attempted to discover some method by which I could obtain access to these hidden treasures, but my friend, although extremely courteous, was adamant in his refusal to let me see them. My son, he would say, with a touch of sadness in his voice, I would that I could satisfy your desire, but that may not be. They are sacred relics that must not be taken out of their containers. I dare not grant your wish. But think, they may not be packed properly and may break and crumble in their boxes, I urged. We should at least look at them to see if they are safe. But this argument was of no avail. 6 months passed. Curiosity or anxiety about their condition had won the contest over my priestly friend. For one evening on the table in front of him, two of the tablets were lying on a cloth. I examined the long hidden tablets with curiosity. They were apparently of sunburnt clay and extremely dusty. With great care, I cleaned them and then set to work deciphering the characters that were in the same dead language that I had been studying with my friend. Fortune was with me that evening, for these two precious forms of clay revealed facts of such import that we both realized that here, indeed, were the genuine records of Mu. The history, however, broke off abruptly at a most interesting point at the bottom of the second tablet. Not even the high priest could restrain his curiosity to see the rest. It is impossible for us to leave off here, my son, he said. I will get the next tablets out tomorrow. Fortunately, the next tablets that he procured were not of the same series, but had to do with an entirely different subject, and in order to find the consecutive tablets, all had to be brought out. It was well, for many of the tablets had been so badly packed that they were broken. These we restored with cement. When I repacked them, I wrapped each tablet in tissue paper and cotton wool. My son, said the priest, I feel that a sacred warning was sent to me through your voice to safeguard these relics. Months of intense concentration in translating the tablets followed, but the reward justified the effort. The writings described in detail the creation of the earth and of man, and the place where he first appeared, Mu. Realizing that I had unearthed secrets that were of great importance in the elucidation of that eternal problem, man, I sought the other lost tablets, but without success. I carried letters of introduction to high priests of temples throughout India, but in every instance I was received with coldness and suspicion. I have not seen any such tablets, each would declare, and doubtless they were telling the truth. Like my friend, they had probably only looked at the containers. Once in Burma, I visited an ancient Buddhist temple in my search for the missing records. From where do you come? Asked the high priest, looking at me with veiled suspicion. From India, I replied. Then go back to India and ask the thieves who stole them from us to show them to you. And, spitting on the ground at my feet, he turned and walked away. These rebuffs disheartened me somewhat, but I had already obtained so much valuable information from the tablets that I determined to study the writings of all the old civilizations and compare them with the legends of Mu. This I did, and found that the civilizations of the early Greeks, The Chaldeans, the Babylonians, the Persians, the Egyptians, and the Hindus had been definitely preceded by the civilization of Mu. Continuing my researches, I discovered that this lost continent had extended from somewhere north of Hawaii to the south as far as the Fijis and Easter Island, and was undoubtedly the original habitat of man. I learned that in this beautiful country there had lived a people that colonized the earth, and that this land of smiling plenty had been obliterated by terrific earthquakes and submersion 12,000 years ago, and had vanished in a vortex of fire and water. Also, I learned an original story of the creation of the world. It was on the continent of Mu that man first came into being. I have traced this same story from Mu to India, where colonizers from the vanished continent had settled. From India into Egypt, from Egypt to the Temple of Sinai, where Moses copied it, and from Moses to the faulty translations of Ezra 800 years later. The plausibility of this subject carefully the plausibility of this will be apparent even to those who have not studied the subject carefully when they see the close resemblance between the story of the creation as we know it and the tradition that originated in Mu. Before commencing to relate the writings on the tablets, I will give a page of the Vishnets found on them, with their decipherings and translations. Not called tablets. Vishnets 1a. Fine, straight, horizontal lines, symbol for space. Vishnet 1b symbolizes the seven-headed serpent moving in space. The surrounding circle is the universe. Vishnet 2, wavy horizontal lines, symbol for earthly waters. Vishnet 3, the circle is a picture of the sun. The sun was the collective symbol of all the attributes of the deity. Vishnet 4, fine vertical lines from the sun symbolizing his forces, which are affinitive to the earth's life force, which, being set in movement, gives life upon the earth. Vishnet 5, vertical wavy lines from the sun symbolize the sun's forces, which are affinitive to the earth's heat force. They meet, and the earth's heat force becomes active. Vishnet 6a, vertical dotted lines from the sun symbolize his forces, which are affinitive to the earth's life force. Vishnet 6b symbolizes the sun's affinitive forces striking the earth's life force in cosmic eggs, which are in the water, and bringing them into life. Vishnet 6c symbolizes the sun's affinitive forces striking the earth's life force in cosmic eggs, which are on the land, and hatching them into life. Vishnet 7, this is the geometrical symbol that was assigned by the ancients to Mu. It is also the hieratic letter M, and reads Mu, Ma, mother, land, field, country, and mouth. Vishnet 8, the Tau was the symbol of resurrection in Mu. It is a picture of the constellation, the Southern Cross. The Tau also symbolizes bringing forth, emerge, etc. Vishnet 9, the lotus flower was the floral symbol of Mu. Tradition says that the lotus was the first flower to appear upon the earth, and for that reason it was adopted as the symbolical flower of the motherland. Vishnet 10, 3 was the symbolic numeral adopted to represent Mu. This was because the continent consisted of 3 separate areas of land divided from each other by narrow channels or seas. Vishnet 11, Ke, the leaping deer, is frequently found in the Nakal tablets. It is the symbol of first man. This animal was selected to symbolize the first land because of its leaping power. Man came on earth fully and perfectly developed. He leaped upon the earth in his first and original form without going through nature's development of life. In other words, he was a special creation. Vishnet 12. This was the ancient symbol for fire in Mu. The lines began thick at the bottom and wave and taper to a fine point. Vishnet 13. This vignette appears on a tablet describing the rising or the raising of the mountains and the formation of gas belts. Therefore, we see where the Egyptians obtained their symbol of fire, also the scarab. The Nakals from India carried them to Egypt. The Egyptian fire symbol is only a modification of the Naga. The Egyptians put a handle on the Naga and turned it into a sword. It is not hard to find the reason for the Egyptian change or modification. In their hieroglyphics, they wanted to depict two forms of fire, the fires of the underneath and actual flames. This they did to record the destruction of the motherland, which they say sank into a fiery abyss and was enveloped in flames as she went down. This symbol is shown in our chapter on the Egyptian sacred book, the Book of the Dead. Vignette 14. I consider this one of the most interesting of all those found on the Nakal tablets. It depicts man's advent on earth and the land of Mu. I will first dissect it by showing separately each symbol. A is the lotus, the symbolical flower of Mu. B, 3 pieces of foliage giving Mu's numeral. C, the hieratic letter M, Mu's alphabetical symbol. D, the Tau symbol of resurrection, emerging, coming forth, and to appear. The head of the Tau, being the hieratical letter M, also means land, so land is emerged. E is the water symbol. The emerged land is surrounded by water. Fe is Ke, or F is Ke, the first man. This vignette 3 times tells the name of the land Mu by the symbols A, B, and C. Man, symbol F, is in the act of appearing on earth, leaping in the exuberance of his spirits. This vignette was the cause of my world search for information regarding Mu. I found that these tablets included several subjects and that it required a series of tablets to explain each subject. Each series ran from 2 tablets, the shortest to 16, from 2 tablets, the shortest, to 16, the longest. Fortunately for us, we found 2 tablets that were keys to the various symbols and hieroglyphics. I arranged the tablets as follows. Series 1, a description of the creation down to and including the advent of man. Series 2, the raising of the mountains by the fires of the underneath gases and provisions for the disposal of future gases. Series 3, the origin and workings of the great forces throughout the universe. Series 4, the origin and workings of the Earth's great primary force, showing 2 divisions and differentiating between the 2. Series 5, the origin and workings of the Earth's great atomic force, a subdivision of one of the 2 principal divisions. Series 6, the origin of the force that creates and sustains life with its workings, a subdivision of one of the 2 principal divisions. Series 7, the origin of life, showing what life is, the changes in the forms of life, imperative as the Earth developed. Series 8, the creation of man, showing what man is and in what way he differs from all other creations. Series 9, the advent of man upon earth and where he first appeared, which was called in the tablets the motherland of man. Unquestionably, these were the only commencement of a long series, probably the early history of Mu. Series 10. This series consisted of 2 tablets, but each was double the size of the others, possibly larger. They served as a key to the writings and vignettes on the other tablets. It was the first 2 tablets of this series which started the work that ended in the translation of all. However, had we not possessed the key, our chances for deciphering the rest of the tablets would have been exceedingly small. Without the key, I do not believe that we could have deciphered 1/2 of the writings. Our work was made simpler, our work was made simpler by the old priest's amazing knowledge of the past. If he only grasped the first line of secret writing, he knew what the rest of the tablet contained. He told me that it was believed that certain other temples had many such records that had been saved when the ancient cities were destroyed. Hold on 1 second. Holy. Okay. Pause it a little bit. Okay. Where was I? So where was I? Uh-huh. Okay. Sorry about that. I had to take a quick break. So where was I? Okay. Um, Let me just read this paragraph again. It was the first two tablets of the series which started the work that ended in the translation of all. However, had we not possessed the key, our chances for deciphering the rest of the tablets would have been exceedingly small. Without the key, I do not believe that we could have deciphered one half of the writings. Our work was made simpler by the old priest's amazing knowledge of the past. If he only grasped the first line of secret writing, he knew what the rest of the tablet contained. He told me that it was believed that certain other temples had many such records that had been saved when the ancient cities were destroyed. Taking them in the foregoing order, the tablets start by saying, originally, the universe was only a soul or a spirit. Everything was without life, calm, silent, soundless, void and dark was the immensity of space. Only the Supreme Spirit, the great self-existing power, the Creator, the seven-headed serpent, moved within the abyss of darkness. The desire, excuse me about that. The desire came to him to create worlds, and he created worlds. And the desire came to him to create the earth with living things upon it. And he created the earth and all therein. And this is the manner of the creation of the earth, with all the living things upon it. The seven superlative intellects of the seven-headed serpent gave 7 commands. I shall use the not called esoteric meanings as they are the most intelligible to the reader. The demotic are all symbolical and cannot easily understood. The first intellectual command was, let the gases which are without form and scattered through space be brought together, and out of them let the earth be formed. Hold on. There we go. There we go. All right. The first intellectual command was that the gases which are without form and scattered through space be brought together, and out of them let the earth be formed. The gases then assembled themselves into the form of a whirling mass. The second command was that the gases solidified to form the earth. Then the gases solidified. Volumes were left on the outside, out of which water and the atmosphere were to be formed, and the volumes were enveloped within the new world. Darkness prevailed, and there was no sound, for yet neither the atmosphere nor the waters were formed. The third command was, let the outside gases be separated and let them form the atmosphere and the waters. And the gases were separated. One part went to form the waters, and the waters settled upon the earth and covered its face, so that no land appeared anywhere. The gases that did not form the waters formed the atmosphere, and the light was contained in the atmosphere. And the shafts of the sun met the shafts of the light in the atmosphere and gave birth to light. Then there was light upon the face of the earth, and, figure 4, the heat was also contained in the atmosphere. And the shafts of the sun met the shafts of the heat in the atmosphere and gave it life. Then there was heat to warm the face of the earth. Figure 5. The fourth command was, let the gases that are within the earth raise the land above the face of the waters. Then the fires of the under earth lifted the land upon which the waters rested until it appeared above the face of the waters, and this was the dry land. The fifth command was, let life come forth in the waters, and the shafts of the sun met the shafts of the earth in the mud of the waters, and there formed cosmic eggs, life germs, out of particles of the mud. Out of these cosmic eggs came forth life as commanded, figure 6b. The sixth command was, let life come forth upon the land, and the shafts of the sun met the shafts of the earth in the dust of the land, and out of it formed cosmic eggs, and from these cosmic eggs life came forth upon the earth and was commanded, figure 6c. And when all this was done, the seventh intellect said, let us make man after our own fashion, and let us endow him with powers to rule the earth. Then Narayana, the seven-headed intellect, the creator of all things throughout the universe, created man and placed within his body a living imperishable spirit, and man became like Narayana, an intellectual power. Then was creation complete. The 7 commands are, without doubt, also indicative of 7 periods of time. A period of time is not measured by any particular number of years. It may mean a day, a year, or millions of years. Thus, these tablets do not assign any particular length of time to creation. It may have taken millions or tens of millions of years to accomplish what was recorded in the tablets. It is merely stated that the earth was created in 7 periods of time, not in 7 days, as recorded in the biblical legend. The general resemblance of the opening part of the Nahal record, as regards to the story of creation, to the account as found in the Bible is remarkable, and it is also remarkable how great are the divergences thereafter. The legends of the creation are prevalent among peoples throughout the world, and in all instances, I have found so much of the material identical that the only conclusion to be drawn is that they are of common origin and their genesis was in Mu. The seventh command was the hardest of all to translate. The actual deciphering was easy, but we found it impossible to find modern words that would convey identically the same meanings as the ancient. For instance, soul or spirit were the nearest words we could find to represent what was put in the body of man. The word living may or may not be exactly what was intended in the original. The word imperishable is without doubt absolutely correct. But what does the phrase after our own fashion actually mean? Certainly not in our own image. It, in some way, refers to mentality and mystic powers, and this is substantiated by the words, endow him with powers to rule the earth. The Bible uses a good symbolical example when it refers to the breath of God. At any rate, it is clear that the meaning is special powers received from God, and may therefore be looked upon as a part of God. As a leaf is a part of the tree. Man came from God and must return whence he came. The Nahal tablets were exceedingly difficult to decipher, there being so many vignettes and tableaux and so very little hieratic writing. Some of the parts were also so worn and obliterated that we could make nothing of them. Words also appeared for which we could find no equivalent in modern languages. At the commencement of our studies, my priestly friend informed me that it would be impossible to decipher ancient tablets and inscriptions without a knowledge of what he called the Naga Maya language, as all of the ancient writings that have to do with Mu are in this language, and all Nahal writings have an esoteric or hidden meaning, known only to the Nahals and to those whom they taught. This hidden language he held the key, and after that he had taught me its use. It provided a sesame that unlocked for me many strange doors. For more than 2 years, I studied this ancient language with intermittent decipherings to test my progress. My old Hindu friend and teacher remarked when we had completed our task, "My son, we have got the general meaning, but not the perfect detail. I must candidly admit that without this dear old gentle friend, the tablets could never have been deciphered by me. I was totally incompetent. I find a reflection of the teachings of these tablets or other similar ones in the old Hindu literature, also in old literature other than Hindu. As an example, Hindu, the Manava Dharma Shastra, Book 2, Shloka 74. In the beginning only existed the infinite called Adite. Book 1, Shloka 8. This germ became an egg. Book 1, Shloka 10. The visible universe in the beginning was only darkness. Book 1, Shloka 9. He first produced the waters, and in them deposited an egg. Rig Veda, section 3, 1.2, verse 4, pages 316, 317, 2000 to 2500 BC. And this egg was reproduced, the intellect of the Supreme Being under the form of Buddha. through whose union with the goddess Maya, the good mother of all, the gods and man. This corresponds with Adam and Eve 1700 years later. Page 3. Other than him, nothing existed. Darkness there was. Page 4. He who measures out the light in the air. Atarya Aramya, Shlokas 4-8. Originally, this universe was only a soul. Nothing active or inactive existed. The thought came to him, I wish to create worlds. And so he created the worlds, the light and mortal beings, the atmosphere that contains the light, the earth that is perishable, and the lower depths, that of the waters. Yucatan, Nahuatl. The principles of atmosphere, on being hit by the divine arrows, became animated. Heat, which determines the movement of matter, was developed into it. There is no question whatever, and both written and legendary history say that these books were written from ancient temple records, and that the Nakals wrote the temple histories and taught religion and science. In southern India, the temples have libraries of ancient writings, but none, apparently, go back beyond Sanskrit. I worked over several of these high priests, and they were all in Sanskrit and on religious subjects. As none of them contained any facts of historical value, I was not sufficiently interested to continue their study. There are considerable variations of the legend of creation in different sections of the world, which no doubt is due to the manner in which it has been handed down to generation after generation. Startling as it may appear, the most scientific version, and the one above all others, except in Akal, that can be sustained by geological research, is the version found among the semi-savages and cannibalistic races of the southern sea islands, especially the Marquesans. The Hindu, Chaldean, Egyptian, Maya, and the Greek in later times, describing the creation, eliminated the scientific sections and recorded by the use of symbols, the facts without the whys and wherefores. The reason for this is well told by Clement of Alexandria, who said, the Egyptians neither entrusted their mysteries to everyone, nor degraded their secrets of divine matters by disclosing them to the profane, reserving them for the heir apparent to the throne, and to such of the priests who excelled in virtue and wisdom. In other words, the esoteric meanings were not given out publicly. It is a certainty that the Egyptian legend of the creation, from which Moses wrote the biblical account, came from India, where the Nakals went to Egypt as missionaries to teach the seven sacred inspired writings, religion, and the sciences. Therefore, the dramatic story that is taught in Sunday schools throughout the Christian world today originated in the lost continent of Mu. And that is the end of chapter 1. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe. Take care. Until next time.